Welcome back everyone to another Company of Heroes 2 Regular Cast, and this time we're going to have a 4v4 on Lien Forest. We're going to have Fue playing as the USF, coming along with Jedi Master Alan as the Soviet Union, Eliasga 89, also Soviets, and Triton playing as the USF, so 2 Soviets, 2 Americans. On the opposing side we're going to have Emilia Chen as the Wehrmacht, Whip Me Hard playing as the Wehrmacht, another Wehrmacht in the form of Star Lahu, and Maxon 97. Now, it was sent in by one of the Wehrmacht players, but he didn't exactly specify the name. Yeah, that's pretty not good. Anyway, Lien Forest, we all know this map, I think. Big little forest on the whole right side, from where the map takes the name from, then a bit of an open center, and a town on the left side. All sides basically open to whatever the players want to do. Now, we seem to have a pretty even distribution of players. We have Fue plus Jedi Master going on the forest versus Maxon and Star Lahu. Whereas on the left side, we have the other 2 players. Nobody seems to be going for the center except for these engineers by Eliasga. Running down what people are going for. Now, Triton is AFK. That's unfortunate. Eliasga gone for a special rifle command. Jedi Master for a support weapons company. Yeah, this is not an Abalis mod, by the way, so maximums aren't buffed. And right now we have a bit of a first engagement on the right side. Looks like the Germans have the upper hand. The Allies are still kind of around the stream, so that they are taking damage from negative cover. And well, the Kyuubi is definitely helping for Maxon. He should probably not be repairing under fire, because if the Allies right now were to focus fire on these Sturmpiles, they would drop them really quickly. But unfortunately that is not the case, and that allows the Kyuubi to be repaired quite safely. In the meantime, there's a bit of a flank coming in from Eliasga, and he's trying to get into close range combat with these Penals. That is, of course, a good decision, because the Penals at this medium range will really not be able to deal with the Grenadiers. Although the Grenadiers, with any upgrades or veterancy, are starting to drop like flies. At least the second squad can come in and reinforce, but it will not be quick enough to save that one Grenadier, which has to retreat. On the right side, the Americans are trying to push through, but even if they do manage to push back these OKW troops, there's this MG42 from Star Lahu just covering the right side VP that is pretty much going to prevent any attempts at the Allies, for the Allies to come in. There's 2 Maxims for Jedi Master Alan, which is why I think that the Germans here should really go for a mortar. In fact, I'm really surprised that neither Star Lahu nor Maxon went for some kind of indirect fire, because that would deal with the Maxims quite quickly. In the meantime, on the left side, we have the Germans pretty much hunkering down and capturing the entire area because their opponent is AFK. Poor Triton. Some Grenadiers easily going to capture the center and at least decap the fuel point right next to the base. I feel like one of these Grens could have at least captured it, because that would have, of course, given them some extra resources. Why not, whenever your opponents clearly aren't there? And, well, other than that, it seems like the Germans are going to be starting to provide support for their own right flank, which is falling. So we have 3 Grenadiers coming in from Emilio, and he's going to be able to do quite a bit with those Grenadiers because of all these infantry squads. They need some extra support. In fact, one of these Grenadiers really needs to retreat. Rifle Grenadier coming down and does hit a couple of these conscripts, but it does miss the mark on the main blob. So the Soviets getting off quite lightly on that account. These Grenadiers might be able to wipe out one of these conscript squads, because 3 squads of Grenadiers, that is pretty respectable Kar 98 marksmanship. And so they should probably be able to at least wipe out this one. They weren't able to wipe out the other one, I don't think. No, they weren't. But they do wipe out the second squad. So that is, I believe, Jedi Master Alan really starting to feel the pain. Although he also has this Maxim. And Triton is back, and he's starting to capture some points, building troops, going for Lieutenant quickly. So at least once he reaches the game, he's starting to do some good things. Lieutenant is going to allow him to get things like an M20, which would definitely allow him a nice little light vehicle to support his efforts to recapture the left side of the map, which are going to be hard because of the huge amount of machine guns that the Germans can set up on this side due to them being unopposed. They have 1 MG in the train station, one MG in this sort of central house, they have 1 MG in the VP house, and then they have a bunker covering the southern-western approach. So pretty well fortified on the right or left side for the Germans. This is going to be one of the answers, a mortar. Another one of the answers could have been either a utility car or a half-track. A half-track still a little bit outside the fuel reserves of the Allies, but hey, this could work. Mortar focusing fire on the bunker, pretty smart move because the bunker is going to be the easiest to destroy out of all of those MG positions. In the meantime, on the right side, we have a Lux from Maxon, and that's definitely going to be very, very dangerous. Jedi Master Allen still hasn't gone for an anti-tank gun, and his American opponent, or American ally, hasn't upgraded any of his command posts. So that is indeed pretty bad, because he's going to have to be relying on anti-tank rifle grenade, although... Oh! Wow, there is an AT gun I didn't see. There's an AT gun from Jedi Master Allen from the flank, managing to get some damage off on the Lux. And there's also some guards that he called in, so these are also going to be useful against the lightly skinned little Lynx. Oh, a flame half-track from Whip Me Hard. That was a nice attempt, but it looks like it was completely shut down by the rifleman. Partially because it was sent in perhaps a little bit too quickly without any infantry support. That would have been a bit of a better move to wait until something like... actually, Whip Me Hard doesn't have any infantry. He's got tons of support weapons. Yeah, then perhaps the Flame Half-track should have been positioned a little bit more in reserve. Oh, there goes an infantry squad. That was, I think... No, wait. Infantry squad, that was a German advisor. Anyway, also an infantry squad going down for the Soviets. Soviets coming in with the Guards Rifleman infantry. In fact, the flame grenade prevents them from getting back to the sandbag firing position. The problem is that these are folks with STG-44s, so against the Guards, they would like to be at close range as much as possible, so the flame grenade actually hurting their chances of doing that. That is a bit of a counterproductive little move. Meantime, a bit of an assault from the Americans on the right side, trying to deal with this train station MG, not really going to work out. However, this might work out. A huge assault from the American player, Triton, coming into the center and absolutely massacring some of these Grenadiers from Amelia Chen, although one of the infantry squads does go down for the Allies. All of these men are forced to retreat, and there's a second flame half-track coming in from Whip Me Hard, which might be the end of these infantry troops. There's also a couple of... oh, that's what killed the half-track earlier. It was probably the Penal Battalion Satchel Charge. Right. So we have a couple of Penals not really coming in to support, and a third one that is indeed coming in to support. So here comes the Flame Projector upgrade, and this is exactly what you don't want to be doing against the Flame Projectors, going into a building that is going to be very, very, very dangerous to do. And in fact, I think that the Flame Half-track is going to have some roast American for dinner tonight, because they're just running away, trying to get into the water as quickly as possible. And on the right side, an Ostwind has been called in by Star Lahu, or rather, produced from the Support Armored Corps. And he's lost everything else. So yes, I can see why he would be going for an Ostwind. He's also gone for the Luftwaffe Supply Doctrine. And he has been plopping down a lot of fuel drops. And he himself is picking them up. Now, I would have thought that popping down so many supply drops... Oh, he's actually going for... I'm not sure what he's going for. I mean, he went for a Support Armored Corps. And then he's sort of artificially augmenting his fuel supplies. I would have thought that if you needed so much fuel, you would have gone for a more fuel-intensive strategy with the Battle Phase 3 and the Heavy Panzer Corps, rather than the Support Armored Corps. I mean, I like that he went for an Ostwind. It's going to be very useful on this right side of the map, because the infantry really likes to blob up in these wooded areas, because there's really no other options that they do have. So the Ostwind against this is going to be extremely useful. Also, vehicles don't normally come into here, so having something like this Ostwind that can provide a bit of support to the infantry is going to be very, very good for the Germans. And now they know that their AT gun is there, probably safer to just pull back with the Ostwind. I mean, now that I know what is in here, yeah, the Ostwind could just come in and flank the AT gun and destroy it, but of course, Starlahu doesn't know that, so that is fine. Mine's going down, very nice. So it looks like also some extra munis he's using, which is nice. And in the meantime, looks like the center and the left are firmly under control of the Germans. We have some G43 upgraded Grenadiers from Miliachen. They're having problems though because of the huge Ranger slash Rifleman army that is gonna come down on their heads pretty quickly. Oh, great grenade coming in on these poor engineers, and the engineers are gonna go down. And at this point, this is a signal for the rest of the American infantry to just come in and charge. The Rangers are not upgraded with Thompsons, which is very lucky for the Germans, as Thompson Rangers would have been even more dangerous. That is because Triton has been spending a lot of his munitions on these grenades. And to be fair, they've been working out for him, but really not as much as perhaps he was hoping. Because, of course, whenever you upgrade weapons on your infantry, you're kind of investing in the future. Whereas for a grenade, it's something that is in the present. You're either going to kill something or you're not. Ostwind right now, using the Blitz to try to get out of there. He's got a lot of riflemen and an AT gun chasing after him, plus a Stuart from Fue. Now, Fue going for a captain is an interesting little choice. I'm not sure if he's going to go for a major or try to go straight for a Calliope. I mean, he's still very far away in terms of CPs to the Calliope, so if I was him, I would definitely go for the major and try to get out perhaps a Jackson. Excellent flame grenades coming in on these riflemen, forcing them to retreat. Bit of a mismanagement of the infantry from Fue, blobbing them up way too much and then retreating through the S minefield. That was very, very unfortunate. And very luckily for the Americans, no squads go down, despite the fact that they were walking through a minefield while being very, very huddled up together. So that was incredibly lucky. More mines coming in from the Soviets, also a demo charge. So General Master Allen making use of his munitions, definitely very good, but he's lost his guard squad. That's a very big loss. In the meantime, it seems like the Germans are on the back foot, and the Allies have a triple cap coming in. And that's really, really bad, because the Germans don't want to leave the Allies doing this for any longer than it's necessary. And oh, that was not a good idea from the Stuart crew. Now the Stuart can be repaired and used by the Germans. Very, very unfortunate. I wouldn't have done that. Although the Stuart doesn't have a destroyed engine, it's only a damaged engine, so he can actually retreat. Is the OKW player purchasing some trucks? Well, he's got all the trucks, and he's also got the automatrons on his truck, but that's a little bit too far away. He's going to use the engineers to repair the Stuart. That is a nice addition to the German arsenal, and this second Flame Hafter is doing much better than the first one, going up to 13, 14 kills, and just roasting up some penals, doing absolutely well. And at this point, here comes the counter, the Su-76, but the Su-76 isn't enough to deal with a Stug 3. Stug 3 plus Panzerfaust equals the end of the Su-76, but there's a second Su-76 coming in, and the Stug 3 is still looking at the other one, which is very unfortunate, because it was out of control, so it was still technically something that the Germans could shoot at. And right now, the Flame Hafter is going to go down from something. Oh, bazookas. Right, very, very well played by Triton. Getting up has a removal package on his rear echelon troops, and then upgrading 2 bazookas after that, so that the icon wouldn't show that the unit actually has a bazooka. So that is a very, very sneaky little upgrade from Triton. Worked out perfectly against that half-track. Unfortunately, now they are going to need to retreat because the Stuart... And yeah, there goes that very, very good squad. We have a bit of an artillery barrage coming in from one of these Su-76s, and looks like Eliasga is just pumping them out. He's just mass-producing Su-76s, which is a fine decision. Although he needs to be very careful of the German infantry. Here comes a very nice flank from the riflemen. In the meantime, on the right side, very, very good push coming in from Starlahu with 2 Ostwinds and a P4. The problem is the 2 Ostwinds aren't really going to be of much use against this T-3485 from Jedi Master Allen. But thankfully, there's an AT gun that was decrewed, and that is going to be used to try to destroy this poor T-3485. There it goes. Nice job from Starlahu, managing to capture the right side pretty much entirely for the German army. On the left side, it looks like the Germans are doing quite well, despite the flanking maneuver coming in from the Americans. That is going to be overturned by some Obersoldaten from Maxon, and Maxon in general seems to have lost many troops, and he could be going for something a little bit better. We'll see whether he goes for a P4 or a Panther soon enough. And there goes some German vehicle. The Stug. Why was the Stug so far behind enemy lines? I do not know. I don't think that was a very good decision without the Panther support. Bit of a miscoordination coming in from the German players. However, Emilia Chen popping the relief infantry, getting some free Ostruppen and managing to capture some points. That he's going to have a pretty healthy little force at this point that can recruit lots of weapons if they're flying about. Doesn't look like it on the left side, but in general just be a bit of a nuisance and also be able to capture territory quite easily. In the meantime, on the right side, we have a 120mm mortar that was abandoned by the Soviets. In fact, 120mm mortar plus 2 Maxim machine guns. They're going to be guarded by the Ostwind, whereas these engineers are planting down some mines. At this point, the main focus for Starlahu should be to repair his vehicles and then capture all these weapons so that he can easily defend the right side of the map and keep this VP under the German control in perpetuity. In the center VP, we have Maxon sort of defending with the Obersoldaten. The problem is 2 Obersoldaten really isn't going to be enough once the vehicles start to come in. And so I would like to see Maxon going for something a little bit heavier, sturdier, because at this point he wouldn't be having much of a good time if, for example, Eliasga were to switch from Su-76s to T-34s in Tier 4, or if Jedi Master Allen started to pump out lots of T-34-85s and come into him instead of the extreme right of the map. In the meantime, it looks like these Ostwinds still doing pretty well, but one of them sort of eats a mine, another one takes a lot of damage from something, so not the best possible thing for the Ostwinds. Ostwinds are going to have to be repaired. The weapons are still, well, the 120mm was recovered by the Americans, actually. Wait, no, that's an 81mm. Where's the 120? Oh, it was taken by the Germans. Very, very good. Well played by Starlahu, getting that crucial little weapon system. In the meantime, looks like the Panzer IV is enjoying himself. He's gotten 13 kills under his belt, one of them a T-34-85, and now he's going to be going in and destroying some of these fuel caches, which are actually giving the Allies a bit of an advantage in terms of resources. As you can see, the Allies have 32 fuel, as opposed to the Germans' 26 fuel income. And they have less munitions, but that is only because I believe this munitions point is controlled by the Germans and has been controlled by the Germans throughout the game. So a bit of an advantage when it comes to munitions for them. Although now that the Allies did capture the left side, it is equal again. Booby trap coming in from these Obersoldaten. Still not sure why Maxon isn't going for a lot of Raketenwerfers to supplement his Obersoldaten and defend them from enemy vehicles, because at this point I feel like he's waiting for a KT with 4 headquarters set up and him going for some Obers and just saving up. As I've said many times, it doesn't really matter if you're going for something like a KT, which costs, I don't remember how much fuel, like 340, something like it. If you're going to be waiting and saving up the fuel for it, it doesn't mean that you have to save up the manpower past the manpower cost of the unit. So for example, if Eliasga was saving up for a KV-1 heavy tank for 145, he would be saving up the fuel, but then the KV-1 only has 420 cost in terms of manpower. So he could be spending the excess manpower in the meantime, and it wouldn't really be problem. T-3485 might go down, actually, here. Although the Panzer IV definitely in trouble. Lucky that the T-3485 didn't have prioritized vehicles on, and so it shot at a MG42 crew, actually not Maxim crew. In the meantime, here comes the reinforcements from the Panther. Panther are going to be trying to chase down the poor T-3485. There are a couple of these Guards Riflemen ready to go, and unfortunately one of them goes down to the machine gun fire of these Obersoldaten. And the Obersoldaten should also be able to deal with the anti-tank infantry from the Americans. There goes the T-3485. Very, very well played by Emilio, coming in with the Panther at the correct possible time. In the meantime, his Grenadiers are fighting on the left side. The Americans are pushing in and doing a very, very good job at sending the Americans back into the base. They have a Jackson plus the support of 3 Su-76s, so no German vehicles really are going to have an easy time up against this glorious little wall of ATs. But unfortunately, the Su-76s decide to pull back and leave the Jackson to the mercy of these 2 Stugs. That was definitely a very huge mistake, leaving the Jackson there on both the account of Eliasgat. And here comes a Stuka dive bomb, a huge one, because the Americans don't move from that, and the Penals don't either. So there goes the American mortar, there goes 3 squads of Penals, and there goes a Su-76 from that very, very excellent Stuka dive bomb. I'm going to completely shut down the Allied push in its entirety and force the Allies to retreat, except for these Rangers who are boldly charging in and heroically sacrificing themselves to slow down the Germans a little bit longer. But unfortunately, at this point, the Germans are just going to be able to go back to their base, heal up, and use some of their second-rate troops, such as their Osttruppen, to go in and capture some points. On the right side, we have a Jackson trying to ambush the King Tiger, but the King Tiger at such close range should be able to at least keep up with the turret rotation against the Jackson. If, of course, the King Tiger is microed correctly and faces the enemy, which it now does. Very, very good. A Fallschirmjäger. This is definitely not the best choice from Maxim. I mean, he's already got 3 Obersoldaten. That is a lot of elite infantry. That is 400 manpower apiece. They're pretty expensive to reinforce. So going for a Fallschirmjäger like this is definitely not what's needed for him. Because the Fallschirmjägers, they're more expensive than the Obersoldaten, but that does not mean that they're better. They're only more expensive because of the ability to spawn from buildings. That is the reason why they're 40 manpower more expensive. They are weaker than Obersoldaten, in fact, at longer ranges. So I'm not sure why Fallschirmjägers right now. In fact, they're going to get massacred by these riflemen with their grenades. Veteran riflemen at this point against non-veteran Fallschirmjägers. Easy pickings for the riflemen. Machine gun. Stolen MG42 gets set up in the center, but unfortunately it gets cooked out of its position, or rather should get cooked out of its position. The Americans might just stay there and die completely. Okay, very lucky that he managed to just in time retreat. At this point, Feuerwaffe also went for a Calliope. I saw its first barrage a little bit earlier. Wait, hold on. I did see a Calliope barrage. Not sure what it was then. There was a big rocket barrage in this area, but if it wasn't the Calliope then, what was it? I do not know. I guess the Calliope might have just completely missed and not even gotten a bit of damage. Which seems very weird, but it's possible. Well, there goes some more casualties on the right side, and now with the King Tiger on the field from Maxim, the right side is going to be a bit of a stomp for the Allies. They can just walk in to be, for the Germans. They could just walk in. If they, why are you not bringing in your Obers to support your tank? You should really do that. If they bring in the Obers plus the huge armor force from Starlahu, then they're gonna definitely have an easy time to destroy this American base, because the American base at this point is pretty much just exposed to attack. Although it would be more smart, I think, to go for the center instead with all those tanks, rather than try to knock out the American player, who isn't really going to be able to do much regardless. I believe this is Feuerwaffe. Yeah, he's not really exhibited proper control of his Jacksons yet, and he's losing lots of infantry. Triton, despite some of his faults, is doing a little bit better with the infantry, although at this point he is really out of the loop when it comes to vehicles. He could go for a Pershing heavy tank at this point, and that's, I think, the best possible option for him. But he's trying to just get some Jacksons in the now to have something to repel German tanks with. In fact, here comes... Wait, no. I thought I saw his resource count drop. But anyway, yeah. He's gonna need to bring out a Pershing heavy tank if he wants to deal with some of these German vehicles later on, because Pershing just brings in a lot more mobility than any of the other Allied vehicles. And unfortunately, the Su-76 is gonna have to retreat. So the huge armor spam of Starlahu definitely working out quite well for him. He's got 2 engineers, 2 machine guns, a mortar, and then he's going to be going entirely for vehicles, partially aided by his constant dropping of supplies, although this time he's going for some munis to get out some, I think, incendiary bombing runs against enemy infantry, or perhaps some Stuka bombing strikes as well. Here comes the Calliope Barrage, not really hitting anything, only fired at a pack gun. It does manage to destroy the pack gun, but still, there was a little bit of a premature little Calliope Barrage, I think. Meantime, in the center right, we have the Ostwind just plowing down on some poor MG42s. There is a Jackson that should be making this Ostwind think twice about its role in life, and it is going to have to retreat. Starlahu at this point might just be trying to go for a lot more engineers. There goes a very, very good Stuka bombing strike destroying. Looks like an engineer squad and a Pino. And a second Stuka bombing strike from... So the first one was Whip Me Hard, and the second one was from Starlahu. Bit of a... bit of a redundant little move. Meantime, Panther's going to be chasing down the poor Jackson. But the Jackson has some support in the form of all these damn Su-76s who are swarming in and trying to capture the Panther's rear, but unfortunately there's a Tiger, and here comes a Stuka close air support from Amelia Chen. This is going to be devastating to the Su-76s. In fact, the first one almost goes down, the second one does take some damage. Here comes the Pershing, managing to force back the Tiger. I'm not sure where the Panther went. Might have died. No, there goes the Panther, also retreating. Stuk 3 also forced to back off. At the same time, the Pershing is forced to back off by the Stuka close air support. So that was a very, very good little thing for the Allies. There it goes from the 120mm mortar. Another German squad. 120mm mortar up to 14 kills. Definitely doing its job. And the Allies are trying a bit of a push on the right side to outflank the KT. The KT taking huge amounts of damage from the Jacksons and AT gun. I think it's going to go down. Plus the target mark vehicle from Jedi Master Allen. There we go. Double the damage. Double the party for these Jacksons. Jacksons could try to actually run over all of these poor Obersoldaten, but they're not going to be able to do that, and I think that this Panzerschreck Sternpile might be... No, it will not be able to defeat the Jackson. In the meantime, the two Ostwinds are definitely plowing down on the push from Fuefufue. Fuefufue was trying to come in and capture the right side VP, but unfortunately did not work out. The Germans and the Allies are pretty much even when it comes to VPs, but I think that the Germans are going to have a bit of an upper hand soon enough. Whip Me Hard has gone for a huge force of Panzer Grenadiers, and he's going to go for an Elephant, I'm thinking. There comes the Elephant Tank Destroyer. It's going to be supported by not only the Panzer Grenadiers, but also Stug, so it's well defended from both infantry and vehicles. And plus Emilio Chen has his Tiger and his Panther and his Grenadiers, which are now very, very heavily vetted up. So the left side of the map is pretty firmly in the control of the Allies, which is also going to lead to the Axis, which is also going to lead to the Axis taking the center. Whereas the right side, it seems like the huge armor spam from Starlahu is going to be reigning supreme here. He's going for a new Panther, so that's going to mean 2 Panthers, 2 Ostwinds, and a P4 for the versatility. That is indeed very, very scary for any Allied force to come up against. I think only the Allies just, I guess, gathering up all their tank destroyers into one place might have a chance against that. The Allies are going really heavy into tank destroyers. Pretty much I haven't seen, except for the Pershing, not one heavy tank and not one medium tank. Well, Jedi Master Allen did try to go for some T-34-85s, but he really uses T-34-85s in the wrong way. With T-34-85s, or in general any medium tank that's not a very high tier one, What you want to do is you want to mass them. And to mass them, the only way you can do that is you can keep them alive. If you can keep them alive, get them vetted up, and then build them up so that eventually they're just a huge force, then you can make use of this big swarm of mediums that can be very dangerous. And there goes the Ostwind to a very nice Calliope Brush. That can be very dangerous, and in general, is not going to get destroyed by one heavy tank. Because if right now there was a T-3485 coming in, just imagine that these don't exist. All of these tank destroyers, imagine that they don't exist. Imagine one T-3485 against King Tiger. That's not going to work. But imagine 3 T-3485s against the King Tiger, which roughly ends up working out in terms of price. I mean, not entirely. The T-3485s are like 100 fuel more expensive when you have 3 of them. But still, imagine 3 of them. Then all of a sudden it's a different story, especially with Marked Vehicle from Jedi Master Allen's Guard Mortal Coordination Tactics. So in general, I just feel like the Allies missed the chance to build up a really strong armored force by just suiciding their vehicles and not managing to preserve them, which is really the main thing you want to do whenever you're working with lesser quality vehicles that are less expensive. You're going to have one, you gotta be very careful with it, you gotta keep it alive, get it vetted up, and as you can see, at this point, if that had been the case, he would have, I think, 4 T-3485s instead of 1. Let's go to the units. Yeah, he's produced 4. So if you had kept them all alive, which might not always happen, but might happen, then right now Jedi Master Allen would be in a much, much better position. Because instead of facing down 2 Panthers and a P4 with 1 T-3485, he would have 4. That is pretty much the main reason why you have to be very careful whenever using medium tanks. And why medium tanks, while a little bit more difficult to use, because again you need to preserve them, a little bit more difficult to use than heavy tanks, can indeed be strong if you're doing what you're supposed to do and keeping them alive. Interesting little Forshimir assault from Maxon. Again, he's just got way too much elite infantry. You don't want this to happen. This is way too ridiculous. You do not need all this elite infantry, because none of these are good against enemy vehicles. And what you want is you want some extra support that can deal with enemy vehicles, something like a Rakenwerfer or 2. And then you want some regular infantry so that you can come around, have a cheap unit that you can send and capture points with, that you can expend in, I guess, baiting maneuvers. That's just versatile, because all this elite infantry, the only use for these guys is to kill enemy infantry. And at this point, Eliasga doesn't have any infantry. Triton has some infantry, but he's on the other side of the map. Fwefwet doesn't have any infantry, and Jedi Master Allen also doesn't have any infantry. So why do you need 3 Obersoldaten? Well, I mean, I guess he built the 3 Obersoldaten while the enemy still had infantry, fine. But why do you need 2 extra Forschemigers then in support? That is ridiculous. What you want is some extra anti-vehicle and versatile troops. You want more capping power. At this point on the left side, it looks like Emilia Chen has a pretty good little force built up with the Tiger and 2 Panthers. Here comes a very nice Stuka close air support, destroying one of the Jacksons. T-3485 also probably going to go down from the Stuka close air support, plus the Stug and the Panthers. And the Pershing heavy tank at this point is alone, plus a KB-1 heavy tank, but it isn't really going to be able to deal with the swarm of tanks that the Germans are pushing in. Panther taking some damage from the riflemen, but unfortunately this is not going to be enough to save the Pershing. Once the Tiger comes in, Pershing would do well to retreat at this point, although the Panthers are doing some weird things. I would really send this Panther in to try to block the Pershing's line of retreat. This is very lucky for Triton that the Germans aren't being more aggressive. Well, there goes the Pershing, and Triton isn't very happy about that, but he should have really expected that to happen. It's 2 Panthers. Panther is the best anti-vehicle medium tank in the game, plus a Tiger, which is also nothing to be laughed at. So he should have expected that, especially once his allies' vehicles have been destroyed. He was in a very, very precarious position, and I'm thinking that the Germans are going to be taking away this victory quite quickly. They have a triple cap, It's only 1 minute until the Germans get victory because the Allies run out of points. 2 Su-76 is still alive. I mean, the spam of Su-76s was okay for Ilyazga, but at some point, you really have to transition into something a little bit better, and Su-76s have some problems themselves, so yes, unfortunate for them. Elephant also getting 2 kills and a veterancy level, so that is good for the Elephant. He was able to use it quite well, it seems. And yeah, so in general, the Allies should have gone for less tank destroyers and more of a varied force. They should have used their artillery much better. At this point, the Calliope has been in the game for like, what, 10, 12 minutes, something like it? Let's see. That is why we have this little tab. Calliope, where are you? 34. Really now? So little, 4 minutes. That's ridiculous. I was pretty certain that that Calliope had been in the field for a long time. Oh no, yeah, 23. Okay, never mind. So that's a second Calliope. Yes, this one is a second Calliope. But for being in the field for 15 minutes... Okay, so which one is the second one? I do not know. Well, one of these has gone way less kills than it should have. 16 and 17. After 14, 15 minutes of firing, the Calliope should have way more kills. It's the best rocket artillery in the game. So they should have used their artillery better. Katyusha not really doing anything. They should have timed their purchases a little bit better. At this point in the game, going for more Su-76s really isn't that good of an idea. In the early game, Jedi Master Allen rushed for a T-34-85, whereas perhaps he should have gone for a T-34-76 first, so that he had a little bit of a cheaper stopgap to deal with enemy infantry, because the T-34-76 is better at dealing with infantry than the T-34-85. Triton should have gone for the Pershing earlier and should have been a little bit more conservative with his vehicle usage. And in general, the Allies should have been a little bit more coordinated. The Allies were always just running about randomly, whereas the Germans seem to have a little bit of a more, I guess, coherent strategy. Because other than Maxson, who just kind of stayed in this area throughout the entire game, we had Starlahu coming into the center with his vehicles, and then managing to capture and hold the right side of the map. Then we had Whip Me Hard pretty much covering all the way from the VP to the extreme left. And we had Emilio Chen covering more seriously the left side VP, but then coming in with his vehicles on the right side every once in a while to actually lend some support whenever it was needed. So really, the Germans managing to make use of their resources a little bit better. And yeah, I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. It was a good game. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you soon.